Picture this. A thick fog rolls across the open ocean. Somewhere inside it, a Royal Navy warship cuts through the swell, 70 cannons bristling from her hull, hundreds of armed sailors crowding her decks. She is hunting a shadow. That shadow has a name whispered in every port from Tortuga to Nassau. The Black Pearl. The Navy captain is sure of himself. He has the bigger ship. He has the bigger guns. He has more men than he could ever need. He believes in his bones that within the hour this chase will be over. And then the wind shifts. The black ship ahead of him seems to defy the laws of the sea itself, surging forward at a speed no warship her size should ever reach. And within minutes, she is gone, swallowed by the horizon. Like a ghost. Was that only Hollywood magic? Not quite, because history tells us something stranger than fiction. During the Golden Age of Piracy, there really were ships that the most powerful navies on Earth could never catch. Not once, not ever. And today, we are going to pull back the curtain on exactly why. The forbidden engineering, the illegal modifications, the ruthless tricks pirate crews used to turn ordinary wooden ships into something closer to phantoms. Vessels that could outrun cannon fire, outthink admirals, and vanish into thin air. By the end of this video, you will understand why ships like the Black Pearl earned a name that has survived 300 years, the ghost of the Atlantic. Before we set sail, if you are the kind of viewer who loves getting lost in these dark, true stories of the sea, hit that subscribe button and join the crew, and drop a like on this video. It is the only treasure that keeps stories like this one alive. In the movies, we are told the Pearl is simply the fastest ship that ever sailed, as if speed were magic conjured out of nowhere. But real speed on the water in the 17th and 18th centuries had nothing to do with magic. It had everything to do with a war being fought below the waterline, one that most people never think about. The great navies of Europe built galleons and ships of the line, floating fortresses designed to carry enormous crews, heavy cannon, and the wealth of empires. They were built to intimidate, to dominate, to win pitched battles. What they were not built to do was turn quickly or slice cleanly through water. Their hulls were wide, deep, and round-bottomed, built for cargo and firepower, not for speed. Pirates could never win that fight, so they refused to fight it. Instead, they chose ships the Navy considered beneath its notice, sloops and schooners, small, nimble, single, or double-masted vessels that most naval commanders dismissed as fishing boats. That dismissal was their fatal mistake. A sloop's hull was narrow and shallow, shaped less like a barrel and more like a blade, where a galleon shoved its way through the ocean, brute forcing tons of water out of its path. A sloop sliced through the surface, wasting almost no energy on resistance. Less resistance meant more speed, sometimes twice the speed of the ships hunting it. The Black Pearl, in legend, follows this exact blueprint. A long, narrow hull, a low profile sitting close to the water. Every naval architect who studies her fictional silhouette will tell you the same thing real pirates already knew 300 years ago. You do not outrun the Navy by building something bigger. You outrun them by building something the water barely notices. History gives us a real example of exactly this trap. In 1722, the Royal Navy warship HMS Swallow finally cornered the pirate Bartholomew Roberts, one of the most successful pirates who ever lived, credited with taking more than 400 prizes in just 3 years. For most of his career, the Navy could not lay a hand on him, precisely because his fleet relied on fast, light sloops that could outsail almost anything sent after them. Roberts was only caught because a heavier, slower ship in his own fleet dragged him into a fight he could not simply outsail his way out of. Speed was not just a convenience for pirates like Roberts. It was the entire reason their careers lasted as long as they did. Now, we arrive at a secret that drove naval commanders half half mad with frustration. It has nothing to do with sails and everything to do with what was crawling underneath the ship the entire time. Any vessel that spends months at sea collects a hidden enemy on its hull: barnacles, seaweed, and shipworm, all clinging to the wood below the waterline. This buildup, called biofouling, acts like an anchor dragging through the water. A heavily fouled hull could lose a third of its speed or more, and Navy ships, built for firepower rather than maintenance, suffered from this constantly. Cleaning a warship of this size meant sailing all the way back to a proper dockyard, hauling the vessel out of the water, and spending weeks or even months scraping her clean. For a fleet trying to hunt down pirates across an ocean, that kind of delay was a gift. Pirates could not afford dockyards. They did not have them, and they did not want the paperwork that came with using one. So they invented something faster, dirtier, and far more dangerous: careening. Pirate crews would sail to an isolated, uninhabited stretch of coastline, beach their ship at high tide, and physically haul it onto its side using ropes tied to the masts. With the hull exposed, the crew would scrape away the marine growth by hand, patch any damaged planks, and coat the wood in a mixture of tar, tallow, and sulfur to slow the buildup from returning. Then they would refloat her on the next high tide and sail away, weeks ahead of any Navy vessel, still dragging a hull full of barnacles. This is also almost certainly where the legend of the Black Pearl's black hull comes from. Coating a ship's timber in tar was standard pirate maintenance. It protected the wood from rot and worms, and cut drag through the water. It also happened to turn the entire hull a deep, almost unnatural black. A fast ship that was already hard to catch, wrapped in a color that made her nearly invisible at night, sailing straight out of a careening beach, faster and cleaner than any warship afloat. It is easy to see how sailors who barely glimpsed her might start telling stories about a phantom. Careening was not just maintenance, it was one of the most dangerous rituals in a pirate's life, and every crew knew it. A ship hauled onto her side on a beach was completely helpless, unable to fight, unable to flee, unable to defend herself. If a Navy patrol or a rival crew happened to sail past at the wrong moment, captains chose their careening spots with almost paranoid care: hidden coves, uninhabited islands, places marked only in the memories of trusted crew members and passed on by word of mouth rather than written on any chart the Navy could seize. Blackbeard himself was known to favor the shallow inlets of the Carolina coast for exactly this reason: waters so treacherous that larger naval vessels simply could not follow him in. The very obsession pirates had with staying fast was the same obsession that, for a few vulnerable days at a time, left them completely blind. A fast hull alone does not make a ghost ship. The second half of the equation was the wind and how far a captain was willing to push it. Royal Navy captains operated under strict discipline. Rigging was standardized, maintained by the book, and rarely pushed past what was considered safe. When a storm rolled in, naval crews reefed their sails, shortening them to reduce strain and avoid disaster. That caution kept ships and crews alive. It also cost them speed, again and again, at exactly the moments that mattered most. Pirate crews played a different game entirely, one built on calculated recklessness. Many pirate captains deliberately over-rigged their vessels, fitting a small, light hull with sails far larger than any naval architect would have approved. It was a dangerous gamble. Too much canvas on too light a frame could snap a mast or capsize a ship in the wrong conditions. But pirates were not sailing for a paycheck. They were sailing for their lives, and a crew with a noose waiting for them on land will take risks that a salaried naval officer never would. So, while a warship shortened sail In rough weather, a ship like the Black Pearl would do the opposite, throwing every scrap of canvas open to the storm, riding the wind at a speed that should have torn her apart. It rarely did, because pirate crews, out of pure necessity, became some of the most skilled sailors alive, reading wind and weather with an instinct that came from having no other choice. To a Navy captain watching a fishing boat survive conditions that would have shredded his own rigging and pull away from him while doing it, there was only one explanation that made sense at the time: sorcery. The real explanation was simpler and far more human: desperation refined into expertise. This obsession with rigging went even further than raw courage. Many pirate crews modified their vessels the moment they captured them, stripping away anything that added weight without adding speed. Excess cannon were sometimes thrown overboard. Heavy cargo holds meant for merchant goods were stripped down and reinforced instead for combat readiness. Extra masts were added to small hulls that had never been designed to carry them, turning single-masted sloops into faster, more heavily rigged vessels, almost unrecognizable from their original design. A captured merchant ship could be transformed in a matter of days into something closer to a racing yacht with cannon bolted to the deck. Naval officers chasing these modified ships were, in a very real sense, chasing a vessel that no shipbuilder in London or Lisbon had ever actually designed, because the pirates had redesigned her themselves in secret, purely for the purpose of never being caught again. Could a ship like the Black Pearl actually vanish? In a very real sense, yes, and it had almost nothing to do with the supernatural. Night was a pirate's greatest weapon. A tarred black hull, dark sails, and a crew trained to extinguish every lantern on deck could disappear into open water almost completely. Naval lookouts scanning the horizon for a silhouette or a stray light found nothing to see because there was nothing lit to find. Ships that seemed to vanish at dusk were not performing magic tricks. They were exploiting the simple fact that the 18th century ocean at night was one of the darkest places on Earth. Then there was the water itself. Shallow coastal waters, sandbars, and reef-choked channels were death traps for deep-drafted naval warships. Run aground there, and a ship of the line could be stuck for days or wrecked entirely. Pirate captains studied these dangerous waters obsessively because their shallow draft sloops and schooners could sail straight through passages a heavy warship would never dare enter. A pirate ship fleeing into a maze of shoals was not running blindly. She was luring her pursuer toward a trap. Only one of them could survive. Navy captains who understood this learned to break off the chase the moment their quarry turned toward the shallows, which meant again and again the ghost simply slipped away. Pirates also weaponized deception on the open water long before they ever reached the shallows. Flags were the great con of the age. A ship approaching on the horizon flying a friendly flag, Dutch, French, English, whatever the situation called for, could sail within cannon range of an unsuspecting merchant vessel before ever raising her true colors. Some pirate captains kept an entire wardrobe of national flags below deck for exactly this purpose, along with fake ship's papers to match if boarded and questioned before the trap was sprung. A Navy patrol scanning the horizon for a known pirate silhouette might sail directly past a disguised threat without a second glance, because the ship in front of them was, on paper and in appearance, flying under a friendly flag. The ghost was not always running. Sometimes she was simply hiding in plain sight. None of this speed came for free. Every advantage a pirate crew built into their ship was paid for somewhere else. A stripped-down hull with no extra cargo space meant less food, less water, and less room for anything beyond weapons and rigging. An overmasted sloop that could outrun a storm could also snap her own masts in the wrong hands, stranding her crew in open water with a Navy frigate closing in behind them. Careening left a crew exposed and vulnerable for days at a time, betting their lives on the hope that nobody would find them beached and helpless. Being the fastest ship on the Atlantic was never a gift handed to pirates. It was a debt they paid in constant risk, discomfort, and the very real chance that one bad decision, one broken mast, one careening spot discovered a day too early could end everything. That is, in the end, the real difference between the Navy and the pirates who outran them. A Royal Navy captain sailed with the full weight of an empire behind him, resources, replacement ships, a government willing to absorb the loss. A pirate captain had nothing behind him but his crew and his ship. If the Black Pearl truly could never be caught, it was not because she was blessed or cursed. It was because everyone aboard her understood every single day that being caught meant the gallows, and there is no engineer alive who can outdesign a man sailing for his life. So is the Black Pearl just a ghost story? For Captain Jack Sparrow, perhaps she was a feeling as much as a ship, but for history, she is something closer to a masterclass in engineering, desperation, and defiance. The pirate vessels that were never caught were the ones that rewrote the rules of the sea entirely, trading size for speed, brute force for cunning, and comfort for survival. Their speed was not just a tactic, it was their freedom measured in knots. Even now, when the waves of the Atlantic wash old, splintered timber up onto some forgotten shore, people still ask the same question sailors asked 300 years ago. Was that her? So tell us, do you think modern technology could finally catch a ghost ship like this one? Or would she still slip through our fingers the way she slipped through the Royal Navy's? Leave your answer in the comments below. This has been Shadow of the Pirates. And remember, the sea never gives up its secrets easily. See you in the next video.